everybody, this is Ann. Welcome back to Reaper Pro-Tips with me, your host, Disembodied Hands, Quindy, eternally beaten down servitors, Justin and John, just because, you know, they work for Reaper. I know how it goes. And, yeah, that dog, I gave her a bully stick, she ran off. No visitation. I'm going to leave the door open and we'll see if I regret that, right, as the stream goes on. So maybe you'll get a sighting later of the furry beast. Oh, you clambered up a mountain. Well, good. Nah, clambering up a mountain is worth it. Good, Kuriko. I mean, we missed you. We had lots of, like, deep and philosophical discussion, but, you know. Oh, family needing food? So overrated. Not really. I'm addicted. I'll admit it. Addicted to food. Absolutely. Hey, look. Speaking of somebody who's obviously addicted to food. This guy. I'm pretty sure that, like, he runs the Noble's Hunting Lodge because there's a chef on staff. Oh, that's too bad, Crowley. Sorry. Stomach bugs are the worst. For me, stomach bugs are never just stomach bugs. They're entire body bugs due to my peculiarities. Yeah. Yeah, and then he gets paid off in tasty dishes, right? Yeah. So I'm going to work on his fur today, I think. Working on fur. I've been thinking about the fur, so I should work on the fur. So I'm going to grab some brown liner and a little bit of stone gray to go in that brown liner, although I may just put it on. No, I think I will. And then I'm going to highlight it with a creamy color. Maybe Cairnstone. Yeah, I think Cairnstone looks pretty good. I want something that's not quite as warm as the other cream, but just something that can highlight gray. Cairnstone is nice for highlighting creamy parts on wolves and everything because it has a touch of that gray in it. So I feel like it's a better bridging color there than something that's really warm, like Gnawed Bone. And also, it's raining again, and my nose is like, oh my god, there's all the mold and all the barometric pressure. So expect a sniffly Ann today. Oh, good, Asian Marble. That's good. Yeah, I find salmon teriyaki to be very, very easy. Like, it's one of my, like, if I don't want to think too much dishes, the worst, I mean, the hardest, not even hardest, but the most time-consuming part is just throwing together the teriyaki sauce. Because I put a lot of different stuff in it. But yeah, my sinuses essentially don't stop draining when there's rain, and I have a slight mold allergy, I think, so I'm very snoofly. Weird, Kuriko. Raw salmon can be very not good for, depending on where it comes from, can be very not good for pets. I found that out when I was reading up. I forget which ocean it is, but one of them, the salmon carry liver flukes that can actually kill a dog. I don't know about cats, but you should never give your dog raw salmon if you don't know the source. I just decided no raw salmon for Kiki, just only cooked. Yeah, it's cold here and it doesn't look like it's going to give up. So I'm going to do 4 drops of brown liner. Then we're just going to do a tiny bit of stone gray. I want to make it a little bit more opaque. This wash that I'm going to put down. Liver flukes, parasites, Pendrake. I'm pretty good about looking up stuff online as far as what's okay for my pets. Hi, do you want to show people your bully, or are you just going to sit and chew it right next to me? Oh, okay, good girl. Good girl. If you did this every day, you could be in here all the time. But you're a disruption. My little disruption. Oh, now she's going away. She's like, nope, I just chewed it a few times. Now I'm leaving. Yeah, that's nice for Iowa. We have the same here in Cali, but around us it's not it's not that nice. We should have 60s. We've had a very cold winter for here. I can't really complain, coming from Wisconsin. I know what winter should be, and I have it very, very easy. I haven't have it easy compared to Texas. This is a ridiculously nice climate, but I'm just sick of winter, I'm sick of the cold. I want it to be nice. When I was in Arizona and it was in the 70s, I was like the happiest Ann. Like, it just lifted me right up. I was just like, oh, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be like. So I'm going to add a few drops of my brush-on sealer. I'm not really mixing up a formal wash, so to speak, on this. I'm just going to add some sealer to make it a little more transparent. And see what I can get away with. I mean, we always say this, Rhonda says it a lot, I think, that, precise measurements for stuff aren't really necessary, and a lot of time we overthink, like, precise matches and precise measurements. What it comes down to is just knowing that adding in some sealer is going to make your paint more transparent, and then kind of just looking at the paint and seeing how transparent or opaque it is to judge whether you can put it over something as, get kind of a wash effect. Right now I can see I need a little more water because it's not transparent at all. This is where the well palette has an advantage because you can mix it all up and then watch how it falls off the sides of the well. You can see this is still very opaque, but it's starting to go a little bit more transparent. So we're going to pop a little bit more water in there. And that's looking like, I didn't want a straight wash here. I actually wanted something that would darken down some of the fur. Hey, Masara, thanks for the resub. 37 months. Yeah, exactly what Shadow Raven says. Yeah, I buy wilds. Usually I buy wild steelhead trout if I can because it's a bit more sustainable. Or so I read. And our local store, my little local grocery store that I love so much, has it regularly. Yeah, 37 months is pretty impressive. But yeah, I do what I can to buy higher quality protein. All right, so what I really want is I want to darken down the top of this a little bit more. And I did start highlighting this, but I think I'm going to go over a little bit of it. I just want it to be a little bit darker around his face, and not only for like an idea of the animal that I'm trying to portray as far as how its pelt would be, but also because it'll make his face stand out more, right? So it serves two purposes, both that the back of the wolf is typically darker. So I'll start and go darker up here. And then keep a gray band and go a little lighter as I go down. But yeah, it'll make his face stand out more as well. So it's a double purpose. I have a bit of Patreon stuff to do today, but then today is the day that I put my head down and finish my short story, my long short story. My long story? I don't know. Long story short. Long story that should have been shorter. After I talked to you guys yesterday about the importance of, like, for me, working on stuff when I'm really excited about it, I started thinking a lot about my process, and I was like, the other thing that I've been doing for a while, because I have so much on my plate with all my different interests is, and all my different things I have going, is just that I tend to switch topics. Like, I'll work for a while on X project, and then I'll switch over and work for a while on Y, because otherwise, like, something in my brain is like, you aren't getting enough done on all your projects. But lately I've been thinking maybe I should just put my head down and every day pick one thing and just, like, bust through on that one thing and see if it leads to more productivity. Because yesterday, usually when I get a lot done on everything I have to do, I actually feel pretty satisfied. But yesterday I did not feel satisfied. So I had to wonder if maybe I'm doing it wrong. I'm always open to looking at my process to make it a little better. Yeah, procrastination is real. Resistance is real. The resistance that keeps you from doing stuff. Oh, hold on. Agent Marvel, life of a paint job is more down to how well the paint adheres to the resin, how much is handled. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a paint job, the only thing that's going to harm a paint job, unless you leave it in direct sunlight, because a lot of paints still don't have, like, really awesome light fastness. So if you left it in direct sunlight for days and days or weeks and weeks, you would notice fading. But other than that, wear and tear is the only thing that's going to affect your paint job. It doesn't matter. Like, okay, so resin has all sorts of crap going on with it. So there are things that resin can do, like if it's not fully cured, it can off gas or have liquid pockets in it and stuff like that. And that can totally affect your paint job if your mini starts to leak. But more often, like the thing is that some resins, like they're not going to stay forever. Like, they'll eventually kind of lose detail, go soft, like they'll lose their form. Like the resin chemistry isn't stable forever like metal is, right? So in hundreds of years, your miniature will turn into a blob. But you know what? That's in hundreds of years. Do we really care? Right now, no. None of us are going to have miniatures in the museums, as far as we know, of the distant future. But yeah, other than that, the only thing that hurts a paint job is wear and tear. So if you paint it beautifully and you set it on a nice little shelf in your miniatures cabinet, it's not gonna nothing's gonna happen to it. Like, it's gonna be perfect. It might get dusty, and you should use like a canned air or just blow on it. Sometimes I'll use a damp paintbrush and big soft damp paintbrush and just go over the sections. But that's it. Like, yeah, the surface doesn't matter. And actually, I find that paint sticks to resin better than to metal as far as not chipping or abrading, because the material is generally softer. The metal, for some reason, because it's a harder surface, the paint doesn't want to stick to it as well, and it will rub off easier. But if people aren't priming their resin, because it's not that the paint should adhere to the resin, right? You should prime it. You should always prime it. And I bet a lot of people are like, oh, no, resin is resin. Doesn't matter if it's 3D printed or if it's poured. You need to prime it. So it isn't the paint sticking to the resin. It's the primer sticking to the resin, which should have no problem at all. And in fact, like I said, should be better than metal, more durable than metal. And then the paint sticking to the primer is the same with any miniature. That's why once you get your base coat down on anything, you're painting everything the same. The material that the miniature is done in doesn't matter at all. Except, as I said, that metal is so very hard and the paint is so very soft in comparison that it's very easy to get rub off of sharp points and things on metal. Whereas you might find that it's a little harder to do on resin, although I've done it on resin too. It's just one of those things, right? Let me see here. Where am I? Yeah, I mean, and you have to, well, normally it's not like, but it's different. It wasn't like I didn't get enough done. Maybe it's more like I want to see more progress, and to do that, I'm going to have to focus on one thing at a time. And that plays more to my strengths, probably. I mean, everybody gets into multitasking these days, and I think it's partially that I'm just overcommitted. This is why I'm stepping down from the board of my dog organization this year. And I'm probably also destroying a couple of other things in my life, like just stopping doing them, because I've just overcommitted and I get overwhelmed pretty regularly, which is why I try to work on so many things every day, and then I feel like I'm dissatisfied with it, right? And I feel also what really bugs me in R is that I feel like it's going on forever, right? That these projects that I should have, I feel like, and don't want to shit on myself, but I know that had I focused on my short story, my long story, it would be done already, right? But instead, I compartmentalized and did a bunch of other things all at the same time and only had X amount of time to work on my story instead of X amount of time. And so then I feel frustrated. Then I get the frustration feeling where it's like, I should have been done with this already. I know I can. Why am I not done with it? Why is it dragging on? And then the thing feeds in where I'm no longer as into it, and then I have to force myself to slog through. Whereas if I would have just concentrated on the dang thing and banged it out when I had like full focus on it, I would have gotten it done faster and been happier, right? So it's all like figuring out how your brain works, right? Because sometimes when you tell yourself, I should be doing this, it's toxic. You shouldn't. You want to look at what you want to be doing, what you need, what you really want to be doing to make your life happier and get stuff done that you value, right? Instead of trying to like kind of guilt yourself, but yeah. Oh, you've primed everything. Yeah, you can prime everything. I mean, technically I should prime the Bones USA, but I just don't. Siocast, like I said, Siocast you probably should prime. I mean, I've been doing them just straight, but technically, after looking at it, yeah, I should prime my Bones USA. I should prime my Siocast. I just, honestly, I haven't noticed any problems with not priming them, so I just haven't been. Right, exactly, Quantum. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's the 2080. It's the Pareto principle again, right? Where 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts and all that kind of weird thing. But you should, but yeah, and it all gets done, Quantum. Like it's not like it doesn't get done, but it gets done so slowly that I get frustrated with it, because then I feel like more things pile up, and that's when the overwhelm hits. So I know myself very well at this point. I do a lot of self-examination, and I do a lot of assessment, and I do a lot of lists. But every once in a while, and part of this is that my writing coaching is coming up, so I've had to actually read through a lot of personality test stuff and how it applies to my writing and all this, and this is definitely like moving the needle for me as far as what I'm thinking about and things that I'm realizing and stuff. So all right, I'm gonna take some of that wash, I'm gonna drop some of this Cairn Stone into it and see what color I end up with. Yeah, exactly, when it causes stress. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I love the dog club. Obviously, I'm still invested in the breed because I have Kiki, but at the same time, my current job on the board is a real time sink, and it frustrates me because I don't have the time to put into it. I just don't. Which means that I'm doing a poor job at it, which bugs the heck out of me because I hate to do a poor job at anything. And so it's a huge, giant frustration and a big steaming pile of crap right now. And I've like... It's just one of those, most of the board tasks, like I was secretary for forever, and secretary was fine. Secretary is like so easy. All I need is like an agenda every month for the meeting and like to run the elections every 3 years, and that's fine. But I'm a member coordinator right now, and keeping that membership database updated and sending out notices and updating with new members and following up on the crap that they didn't do that they needed to do to apply for membership, yeah, that is just done. Like, I'm done. Somebody else can take it. I'm done. And if I'm going to do that, I'm just going to step off of the board for 3 years, which is our term. And see how the rest of them do without me. Should be fun. Or not. All right. So now I'm going to take this. I've got a light gray color. I'm actually going to paint it over the edge completely, to try to lighten it up a bit uniformly. Nope, that doesn't ever work for me, Shadow Raven. I know a lot of people who are happy to lower their personal standards, and that's how they run, and it works for them. It works for them, but my standards are a deep and nailed-in part of me. And, it's why I'm successful in general, is that I have high standards that I set for myself. But at the same time, it's good right now. It's good with this because it essentially shows me that I'm just wasting my time. I need to just give this up. It takes a lot for me to admit that I'm not suited to something and I need to just give it up. And I almost stepped down a year ago, but I managed to hang on through the last year and make improvements to the whole system for that matter. Like I have a real mailing list for us now so that we can contact all our members about stuff, and I've automated some things that never were automated before. But it's just too much for me. I have too much on my plate. And now with the writing stuff, that's just taking over. Like the writing stuff is gonna, and this is something, actually, this is a real thing, so maybe I should mention it. And it can apply to the hobby as well, or it can apply to fitting your hobby into your life when you are having trouble. But keep in mind when you first start a new thing, when you first try to introduce a thing into your life, like say that you are wanting to paint every evening and you think you have the time carved out, you think you can do it, you've estimated, you've got it slotted in. The first, hi there, Kiki. Hi. The first period of time that you try to do that, it's gonna take a lot more effort than you think. You're fighting your own inertia. So hi. So essentially me adding, oh no, you dropped the bully stick. Kiki would like you all to see her bully stick. Yes. Do you want to say hi to the group? Do you want to say hi? Uh-oh, the tail knocked off some books from the shelf. That was very exciting. Yeah. Hold on. Come here, Keeks. Come here. Go up on the chair. Say hi to everyone. Up. Come on. She's still nervous about the books. She's like, those books fell off at me. No? Okay. Here, I'll move the books. Hey, they're Ilona Andrews. You can't eat them. All right? Pause up. Good girl. All right, so Kiki says hello. Good girl. That was good. Yeah. Okay, pick up your bully, and I'm going to put you out now because I don't need you to interrupt, okay? Good girl. Yay. Come here, Pop. Good girl. Good girl. All right. But yeah, so when you first try to do a new thing in your life, it's going to take a lot more time and effort than you think it will. And then over time, if you keep it up, you figure out how to be efficient with it. And then it doesn't take hardly any time at all. So at first it may feel like it takes a ton of effort to get your stuff organized and to sit down and start painting, right? And to choose a model or to whatever. And you'll come up against all of these little roadblocks that frustrate you and set you back, and you don't get nearly as much time to paint as you thought. And, then over time, as you make it part of your routine, as your brain kind of figures it out and makes it a habit, then it takes so little effort, comparatively speaking, to just keep things running and keep things going and sit down to paint every night. And it no longer feels like a trial. So she's a cutie, yeah. Thanks, Quantum. She's a pain in the butt because she's 8 months old as of yesterday. Yesterday was Kiki's 8 months birthday. Whatever that is, I guess. Yeah, 8 months birthday. So she is not 1 yet, which means she is still a handful. So just kind of painting that lighter area. It is a full-time job, Pendrake. Yep. Exactly. See, and the previous member coordinator was so desperate to get out of the position, they weren't really straight up with me on how much work it was. And so now I know how much work it is, and it's essentially more work than any of the other board positions all put together. It's definitely more work than the vice president, the president, and the secretary. And the other board positions have even less to do. So, all things considered. All right, so we've lightened that up nicely, and it looks like it actually could be a little bit of a highlight also for the fur down here. I'm just going to go around and make sure I've got a good, solid color there. But yeah. So now with my writing, because it's my first time, I'm prioritizing it, and I'm learning to do all these new things, how to be published, right? Like how to publish a book. So it's taking forever. It's taking for freaking ever. And I feel like that's why I need to just focus and bust it out. Like, because otherwise it really does feel like it's dragging on forever, and it's very frustrating for me because I do like to see results. Results keep me going. That's why I paint in sections, right? It's because then I can see results and it motivates me. So I'm just going to look at like the little slightly deeper crevices, and I'm just painting my wash into that. It's about 150 people, but every month there are new applications, Pendrake, and often they do stuff wrong. Like they'll put in their app, but they won't pay, or they'll pay, but they won't put in the app. And then I have to spend time to chase them down via email, which you hope they look at. Or you hope doesn't go to their spam folder. And so then you've got their money sitting in limbo, or they think they should be in the Facebook group and they haven't paid yet. And yeah, it's just a pain in the butt. So it could be worse. It could be much larger. But I mean, eventually, we're getting close to 200 members now. And, yeah. Right, Shadow Raven. That's the thing. When we set up our board, we just had one person on because that's the way it was always run in our old organization. But our old org also was just terrible at it. And so I doubt it was as much work for those people because they just didn't do all the stuff that we do. Like, really weren't conscientious about it. Yeah, it's all voluntary. It's all volunteer because it's a nonprofit and none of us get paid for this. Which is, another thing that I'm just frustrated about because I'm just like, so I'm doing all this and I could be working on my actual, career. And I've given so much to this club over the past, 16 years? Have I really been involved in Shiloh's for 16? I have actually been involved with Shiloh's for 16 years. Over the past 16 years, I've given so much to these dogs and to these people. Yeah. But yeah, it should be double. It should be a double prong. And I've kind of gotten it that way now, Shadow Raven. Like I'm working with our social media person, because really member coordinator and social media really, I think, should work in tandem, should work together. To do this sort of thing. So she adds them to the Facebook and the social media, and she has access to my spreadsheet. But I still, it's just a lot. I really want to hand over the mailing list to her. I think that really social media should have the mailing list as well. Because then when she makes an announcement on social media, she can follow up with a mail to all of our members. So it's not like this wasn't valuable having me in this position, because I can kind of see the problems and I could see kind of how it works. And I'm very good at that sort of thing. A lot of people aren't. But I am terribly, terribly done with the job at this point. I cannot wait for the fall to get here when I no longer have to worry about it. Because I'm ready to move on and get my writing career seriously going, and that's going to take a lot of oomph. It's going to take a lot of time and effort and focus, and I am dropping some of the dog stuff I do because I'm just especially because now I have Kiki. So I'm going to be back, assuming she passes her hips and elbows and her temperament test and all that, I'm going to be back in the breeding game. And that's a lot of time. That's a lot of work and time, the way we do it. It's researching to find the right boyfriend for Kiki. And then it's figuring out how much money it's going to cost to do all that. And where's a vet that'll do it for me. And how much I'm going to pay for that. And, then it's 8 weeks of raising puppies with pretty focused effort, all things considered. No, I mean, this is my part-time job, Kodiak, so the streams never get sacrificed. The only way the streams will ever start to lessen in number is when I have enough books published and I have enough of an audience, if I have enough of an audience, to essentially be making enough with my writing career that I feel like I need to back off. Because I will tell you, mornings are very productive for me, and if I had this time to work on my writing, I would get a lot done. But this is a significant portion of my living. So, and also, as I've mentioned before, like hanging out with you guys. It's cool. It's like social time for me because otherwise I work at home. I don't get out of the house a lot. So this is kind of like serves the same purpose it did during the pandemic where I hang out with you guys, right? Yeah, I can't really show her because she's very breed standard in some ways, Inara, but the curly coat is not. Kiki's best traits are that she counters some of the very common faults in our breed. Her ears are nice and small and triangular. She's got a very good head. And she's not east-west, so her toes don't turn out like that's a common fault in our breed. And then she's not cow-hocked, which is the other where the hocks draw together in the back. She's very nice and straight. But her coat is very curly for, definitely not standard. And her tail is curly, which is definitely a disqualifying fault. She carries it high also. It would be difficult, Pendrake, because that would affect everybody else's schedule. Because everybody else's schedule was planned off of mine. But yeah, what I would do is essentially I would drop a couple days off of the stream. I would maybe do 3 days instead of 5. So that I could have more time to work on the books. But that's all that assumes that I actually make any money, and that's like, who knows, right, these days. The only thing you can do is put the books out there and see if people like them. Although, I was so excited yesterday, guys. I had a seminar that I had signed up for about TikTok because, like many people, I've heard about TikTok. I've watched a couple of TikToks. But Book Talk, which is the book community on TikTok, is really huge. And so it's like actually interesting. And I'm not planning to do marketing there, but I wanted to learn about it just so I would understand it. But I did find out in the course of this seminar that cozy fantasy is a thing. Like, it's a real thing now. Like, it's booming, in fact. And I'm just so, like, I really want to write one. So those who know cozy mystery, cozy fantasy is the fantasy version of it. And probably the iconic book that started the cozy fantasy trend is called Legends and Lattes. And it's about a half-orc warrior who quits adventuring to open a coffee shop. And seriously, it's good. It's really good. I've mentioned it on stream before, but yeah, so cozy fantasy. Seriously. But I just think it would be so much fun to write. And so I was excited to learn that, like, on Book Talk, it is definitely a thing. It is its own genre, and more people are writing them. So I wrote down a bunch of titles, and I'm gonna have to. Yeah. A lot of them aren't written that great, but some of them are written decently, and so they're really fun. But I think that might be kind of like a heart genre for me. I might have to write a bit. Yeah. Yes. Doesn't it sound like just the kind of thing you want to curl up on the couch with in the evening when you've had a stressful day at work, Cornico? It is for me. So yeah. So, if anything, this just feeds more into my frustration that I feel like I'm not moving fast enough with my writing. Because if I was done with book 2 and had book 2 already, maybe I could spare a little time to plan out a cozy fantasy novel, but right now it's all about those 2 books. But it's in my head, it's percolating, my cozy fantasy. So I'm just gonna have to be satisfied with it percolating for now. But I'm so happy that the genre is really being picked up, and a lot of people apparently there's a lot of fantasy novels, especially from past years, that count as cozy fantasy. Technically, the Terry Pratchett's Discworld comes to mind, as a lot of people seem to be bringing that up as equivalent to cozy fantasy. Because they're fun books, right? But there's also a lot of new stuff being written. But I think it would be super fun. And I have an idea, so I'm like, with my ideas, a lot of times they'll just sit in the back of my head, kind of percolating on a back burner. Every once in a while, I'll get a new idea out of that and write it down. So I'm using my gray to pick up a little bit of detail out of the dark that I did. So you can see there, I'm getting my gray is coming in, and I'm taking my straight up Karen Stone, thinned about 2:1, and I'm hitting the edges here to bring up more of the details on the fur here. Oh, most writers don't make a living, like, especially, I hate to say this, but especially if you're traditionally published, because you're not, the advances seem to be very small for the vast majority. There was a study done, a big survey that I forget who did it. One of the platforms did, and they essentially were like, had all sorts of authors from all sorts of genres like report their income, like, and how much their average advance was and all that kind of thing, just because there's no data on it. And it was pretty depressing. It's pretty depressing. The average writer in the USA, and this averages the super successful people and the not successful people, and the mid successful people. But the average writer in the USA makes $12,000 or less a year. And the average writer in the UK, I think, makes £10,000 per year, which is probably, it averages about the same, right? Or maybe it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Or is that equivalent? Maybe. So that was a few years ago. Technical writer can make a fair amount of money, Big Chimpo. So you'd be fairly right on that, right? Yeah. So essentially, but then you got to look at a lot of stuff, all right? Whenever like numbers like this come out, whenever we talk about creative careers, the thing to remember is that the important thing is to be persistent and to reinvent yourself, right? To evolve, to learn and evolve. I will put out my book. I will fail on some level. I will learn from that failure. I will iterate, that's the word I was looking for. Iterate on whatever it is that I've learned, and I'll try again, right? Because this means a lot to me. And the people who are successful in creative endeavors don't give up. Stick-to-itiveness is actually a prime consideration. What is it? The Angela Duckworth novel, Grit, where she actually like has done studies on this sort of thing, and the ability to dig down and stick with something when you are failing, or stick with it when you've been told you're bad at it, or stick with it, even when it's not working out the way you want, but sticking with it and iterating and learning from your failures is the number one, like, success predictor. Like, it's a huge success predictor. Yeah, see, yeah. Yeah, but it's technical writing, right? It's not creative. Everybody wants to, like, make up their worlds and their characters and write a novel. But, yeah, there's a lot of things that go into, I hate to do this because I don't really believe in talent anymore, but most of the books that I've been kind of reading are like, it's talent, skill, and luck. So for the sake of not totally talking about stuff I don't believe in, because I really don't think talent is a thing. Talent is just the skills that you yourself have managed to build up since you were a little kid that now are your aptitudes, right? In my opinion. So talents and skills are the same thing. It's just that talents are the things that came to you naturally and have really become a part of your personality. So talent, skills, and luck. And luck is the thing you cannot control. And so you must realize that you cannot control it. It's like my Patreon. Like I've told you guys before, everybody told me why it wouldn't work. Why I shouldn't even try it. And it took a while to grow it, right? And even now, I feel like the Patreon is it's topped out at a particular level for now. And if I really wanted to increase that, I would have to find a way to increase my exposure and my audience. So it's all just, you learn, right? You learn what you're doing. You're like, okay, well that didn't work. Or, okay, so I've plateaued. So now what do I need to do? I need to change it up somehow, right? Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of writer nobody wants to be, except for people who are really good at technical writing. And being good at technical writing is a skill. Like, that is a serious skill, because it's not easy to write instructions for things that are clear to people. I read bad instructions every day. So it's definitely its own beast, technical writing is. And that's why good technical writers in certain fields definitely get paid well, because it's not something everybody can do. So now we're just kind of hitting the little bits of the fur. You can see how that makes it look more furry. You're bringing out the texture here. But yeah, so nowadays, I mean, I hear a lot of advances out of New York being only like $4,000 or $5,000, $10,000 maybe. And that's for a book you spent how long writing? You're not going to be able to live on that. Plus, it gets paid to you in 4 installments. So you don't even get like a lump sum of money, and it kind of trickles out to you. It's the way that they have to budget it. But yeah, so, and considering that it could take 2 or 3, even 3 years to get published through New York because of how slow it moves, that means that $5,000 advance is actually stretched over 2 years. Or more. Yeah, I heard about that, Quantum. Yeah, and therein lies the problem with so maybe, I think I mentioned this to you guys, but there's 2 companies that kind of work to help audiobook writers kind of hook up with people to read for their audiobooks for voice actors. ACX, which is the Audible company, and then Findaway Voices. And Findaway Voices was touted for a long time, but then recently they've been outed as there is a clause in their contracts that essentially you sign away the right and your writing gets used for machine learning. And I just saw that pop up on Writer Beware the other day. And so that's not, yeah. That's the problem. Because, okay, yeah, the AI-generated books and stories are bad for now, but they will get better and better and better. There's a lot of problems in the publishing industry right now, Quantum. And it's publishing, the industry has been around a long, long time. And it isn't, things that have been around a long time. People tend to keep doing the thing the way they've been doing the thing for a long time because, well, that's the way we've always done it. But that's not always the best way. But yeah, so now Findaway Voices, if I do audio, Findaway Voices is right off of my radar. And people are starting to read the clauses a lot closer on IP stuff. It's that I feel like AI learning has gotta, like, there's gonna be some big legal battles eventually. Like, it has to be, like, there's no rules, limits, regulations at this point, and I feel like that's not good. Yeah. Yeah, because actually they can write a decent essay. Nonfiction, those AI stuff, that it can write some decent nonfiction. Because it's got all that information, and it's pretty good at just, like, straight up... It lacks artistry, right, and plot awareness and things like that you need for fiction, but when you're writing nonfiction, you just need a clear argument and to make your case and present your facts, and it's very good at that. So yeah, I can see that it takes the pain out of writing and people want to use it. Yeah, it's creating a lot of problems. And it's also, to be fair, it's not doing those students any favors. Like, if you want to... I guess a lot of people probably don't care about walking out, with a decent writing ability these days if they feel like they're not going to use it in their jobs. But there's so many tools now to protect you from having to actually learn how to write a good whatever, right? Yeah, I don't know about stories. Stories are a little harder, Kodiak. I've seen some of those like AI generated stories, and they're very flat. Like it would take a lot. It would take a lot, I think, because how do you teach subtlety? Like, you can teach story structure to an AI and have it spit out a story, but when you hit those beats too hard, it's bad story, right? It's terrible and hackneyed and trite, and it doesn't have any life to it. You need, like, more sensitivity, I guess? Like, the ultimate AI, the one that can hide and pretend it's a human, like that one, you know, that hypothetical AI, that AI of the future could probably do it, but... Wow, that's annoying, Inara. I mean, revision is part of the writing process, and you shouldn't make it hard. Like that teacher did not understand the idea of a crappy rough draft. Like, that's very sad. That makes me sad for you. Obviously, you survived, but... So I got a little bit light up here. I added a little bit more water to my wash. I'm going to darken it down just a little here. Now that I've gotten these highlights on, I can put a real thin wash over areas, and it'll just help pick out those details. Oh, wow, Big Jimbo. Yeah, exactly. Well, so for some people, that's not everybody, though, Shadow Raven. That's not everybody. Some people are very, very auditory learners, right? And some people are more the mechanical thing of writing it down, you know, or the repetition, right? But I don't think it's true for everyone. I mean, a lot of people, probably even most people. I don't know. I don't remember the split, though, between people who learn by reading, people who learn by doing, and the people who learn by listening, right? And so doing is almost like where that writing down thing, I feel like, could come in. Right, exactly. Yeah, because those are subtleties, right? Characterization is writing good, deep characters that are, you know, that your readers bond to. Like, it's a very human thing, right? Which an AI is not. But over time and tuning, an AI might be able to make those connections. But same world building is almost a little bit easier, I think, for an AI. But yeah, it's bad for now, but it won't stay bad, and I feel like we need some. And I'm not always in favor of regulation, but here I just feel like it's like getting out of hand. I feel like it's really getting out of hand. I don't even know how you regulate it, except to make it very obvious when you're about to, like, have companies that are using submissions as machine learning, have it be painfully obvious in front of your face what you're agreeing to. See, I didn't hear bad things about Rings of Power when it started, but then I guess I'm hearing bad things, so... What did they do wrong? Is just too much crap going on? Because I remember looking at Rings of Power, like, early on in it, and there were some people who really liked it. Yeah. Yeah. Kodiak, agree. I agree. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I decided to just kind of debase it on the world of LOTR and then just make it up. Yeah. It's token fanfic, is that what you're telling me? Okay, see, and there you go. So token fanfic. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, cool then. It's good to know there was some good stuff about it. Like, I never, you guys, if you were here listening to me talk about how I feel like anything not the book is just an adaptation of the story anyway. So it wouldn't bother me if it didn't stick to canon, particularly as long as it was a good story. But there are an awful lot of very, very vehement Tolkien fans out there who want everything to be very, very Tolkien. There's a lot of like history and the stuff in the appendices and stuff. I don't know about. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with Hollywood, right, Big Chimpo? Because everybody, it's not just one person writing the script. It's like one person or two people, and then another person comes in and revises it, and then the producer decides he wants it to be this way, and then they have to get somebody else to rewrite it because they don't want the original guy to rewrite it because the original guy is pissed, and then yada 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 yada, and then you end up with a Hollywood script that's like full of crazy or just bad. Yeah, see Kerniko, that's just it, right? Is like there are some changes that I consider good. Like doing more with Eowyn and Arwen in the Lord of the Rings movies, for example. Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty one. A pretty series. Good. Yeah, but I think that there was more about some of that in the appendices. Pendrake, like Tolkien, I mean, he was a like historian and like literature like guy, right? So he into languages. He did a lot of back writing. Yeah, I haven't heard anything like good about the Wheel of Time for a very long time now. And I had problems with the books, so I got to book 8 and I never felt the need to finish it. When they got Brandon Sanderson to come in and finish it, I was tempted. Those books were pretty crazy for him to write, apparently. Pretty high stress. Because everybody in the estate had like very defined ideas of what it needed to be like. There we go. So just like some highlights here after a little bit of shading to bring out all the fur texture. It's still gray. Still reads as gray. No, much more historian type. Like his books are hard to read except for The Hobbit. The Hobbit is definitely I like his stuff just because like I loved when I was a kid I read a lot of mythology and his stuff it was supposed to be a mythology, right? It was supposed to be that sort of thing. It had that feel to it, which is why I managed to read all of the Lord of the Rings books when I was like, oh god, 12. Imagine me like getting through Fellowship of the Ring when I was 12 years old. And the Silmarillion when I was 14, I think. Yeah, and that's the problem, right? Those books, those Wheel of Time books, they're huge, and there's a lot in them because he has whatever you say about Robert Jordan, he was an excellent world builder, and there's a lot, and it's hard to fit all that in, even when it like, and a lot of it isn't revealed until later books anyway, as I recall. So it's like, yeah, it's a lot. It's just a lot. It's hard. That would be such a hard series to adapt. I just didn't like Jordan's female characters. I felt he couldn't write a decent female character to save himself. That was me, though. That's just me. And if you guys like his women, then awesome. But I felt like they were all the same woman. They were just kind of like the hair colors were changed at points. That was kind of how I felt. reading it as a, that would have been when I was like 19 or 20. Yeah, that's the problem with big epic fantasies, is making it engaging enough in the beginning when you're setting up everything, and there's so much to set up when you're building a big world like that. I mean, and yeah, they tend to be slow, right? And with me, if I like a particular character, I'm likely to hang on through the opening, slowness to see, or if there's a bit of world building that's intriguing to me, or I like the way the magic is done, I'll hold on through that. Though I do need to like one of the characters, really like one of the characters to hang on. All right, so we've got our fur. You guys see how we did that, right? So we've got a base. We started out with a basic gray. We did a heavy wash to push down some of our tones to make it look more realistic, like a fur gradient. We used our gray to highlight, our mid-gray to highlight the dark places. We used that mid-gray to be a solid base coat around the outside, and then used our highlight to highlight that part. So you get a gradient not only with the main color, but also with the highlights. The highlights go from a darker gray to a really pale cream. So that's how you can do kind of the effect of a wolf pelt on somebody. If you have, usually you need this mantle. You need a space that's going to let you do that. Get a new doctor, Twisted Oma. That's just ridiculous. Yeah, like that's almost malpractice bad in my opinion. Because it's just like really, seriously bad. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Twisted Oma. All right, a little bit more. There we go. Ooh, the rain is coming down. It's another long rainy day here. I took Papa for a walk in it yesterday, and that was an adventure, let me tell you. It's like she wanted to go for a walk, but then she wasn't like wanting to go for the walk when she got totally wet. So I'm hoping this will taper off a little bit so I can actually take her for a walk today. All right, what else? What should we do next? I'm feeling like, well, we got off-white kind of going on, so I could do the cream. Let's do that. Let's do the cream. The cream won't be too bad. So we want gnawed bone, and we want a white, either Osirian sand or pure white with it. And I do need to build kind of a little shadow for it as well. I want a warm shadow, I think. Yeah, I like the fur. It's good. I like painting fur. Fur is fun. Unless it's sculpted really badly, but this is some of the best sculpted fur. Certainly the best sculpted fur I've seen on a digital model. Certainly on a 28. I want to go a little warm with the shadow on this. So I'm just going to do a couple of big drops of the gnawed bone. And then I think I'm going to add in a little rich leather to do shadows for the cream stuff. I could take it cold, but then I would drag it closer to the gray of the fur, and I don't really want that. Yes, you must have sent it all the way across the USA, across an ocean in the USA to reach us over here, Granico. This is our second day of it. And I like the sound of rain, so I just don't like having to take the papa out in it because she's like a real handful because everything is different. All right, so I'm mixing up a kind of soft like brown color. I'll put some of the nod bone right next to it. So you can see the difference. So you can see this is browner. I'm probably going to take it even more so, but the actual color that I use to paint these is a little lighter. So I think I'm going to darken it down just a little bit more. All right, let's mix that up, make it a little darker, a little warmer. If I need to cool this down, what I would do probably is use my kind of black indigo color here and add just a touch of that. Add a touch of purple. That would cool it down a little bit. But we're going to work with the warm and see if we can make it work. If nothing else, if the warmth is too much for these white areas, these cream areas, I can always take a glaze of purple and do it that way. Yeah. Yeah, David was just talking about wanting to get in one more skiing weekend, and I'm like, well, maybe you should go this weekend because it's all this rain is going to be making snow in Tahoe. So, and it's supposed to rain again, I think, on the weekend. Okay, we're gonna lighten up our nod bone just a little bit. I'm gonna do 1 drop of Osirian sand and 1 drop of pure white, I think. Oh, I put in my Reaper order, so I've got some fun stuff coming for the stream. I did order the Kathy Wapple. I also ordered a few more things, so I'll surprise you. And then from there, we can go up further toward white. Oh, yeah, I ordered a little bit of extra colors too. I ordered another bottle of rich leather because I use it so much. I ordered more Osirian sand because it's like becoming a staple. And more fire red because I tend to use that as well for a primary sometimes if I need a cold red primary. All right, so there. Okay, so that's a decent warm white triad. Those guys. I probably could make this just a little darker. Oh, local paint con. Cool. Yeah, I like Osirian sand a lot. If you want that ivory off-white that you can use for warm highlights to build, like, warm highlights for a lot of stuff, I think it's a very convenient color. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to test this and just make sure that this is very similar to the color I started out with here. I think it really is. As I recall, I just took the nod bone and lightened it just a little bit. So I want to grab my dark color here and see how dark I can go with this once it dries. Do remember sometimes paint dries a bit darker than it looks, so with acrylics. So I'm going to kind of wait. Might need to do rich leather as itself as just a real thinned down to bring in that shadow. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to build a well of it. It's good that you could do it, though, Kerniko. Looking on the bright side, maybe it used to be easy, but at least you could do it. So now you can use it as your benchmark. So the problem with rich leather is that when you really thin it down, it goes very yellow. Then you can really see that it is a yellow. So what I think I'm going to do is I am going to take a little bit of purple. I'm going to take just a, I don't really want imperial purple. I want a reddish purple. Maybe I'll use orchid. I wonder, well, orchid's a little red, but well, orchid might work for that reason. Let's see. Orchid's probably a little bit too red. But, so essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find a complementary color to take this down. Technically, though, it's a yellow-orange, or an orange-yellow. So I should do a blue-purple rather than red-purple, but I'm thinking maybe the red-purple will give me more of a brown. So I'm going to try a tiny dab of orchid. Even though it is mostly red, it may just not work for me. And by tiny dab, I mean tiny dab. Well, it definitely took it, like, darker brown. And it did knock the yellow out a little bit. So maybe I can work with that. Yeah, ice is definitely not, would be not fun. So I'm going to pop this into the shadows here on the little cuff. So what I'm really doing here is I'm using this cuff as kind of a proof of concept to experiment with shadows to see how I want to do it. Do a little bit of blending, a little bit of wet blend in there. So there's a little bit of this cuff kind of being bowed out at the top and bottom, and that's why I'm putting this shadow in the middle. There we go. So that gives me a little bit of a rich shadow there. 350 to 400 drops. I usually say 400 drops is a good average pendrake. I measured them when I counted them when people actually wondered about that. Actually, it was because people were talking about wasting paint, and I was like, there are so many drops in these bottles. So I actually sat there and squeezed them all out and knew how many drops I could get. And then I decided that it probably was, you know, there was probably a range, because I know bottles are filled a little bit differently. We have a range to hit, but it's still there are still differences. So I would say probably 375 to 400, but there's some that might be a little bit more too. But because of different viscosities of paint and everything, Audrey and Tiamat do not fill every bottle to an exact precision. You can't get that close. Surprised more people don't remember that fact because I've talked about it before. Many times. I'm going to bring up more white on the outsides. Leave that nice dark shadow. This is a nice shadow. Hello, Commander Salamander. We did fur today, and now we're doing the off-white on the cuffs and a little bit of cloth down here. Had to hand mix a new brown to get some of the shading where I wanted it. And I just won't bring up those extra highlights down on the shadow part here. Yeah, the big thing to remember, Pendrake, is it's never precise. Because yes, the fill point, the sensor is going to like be able to detect when the paint hits the fill point, but it's not a precision, it's not a super precise detection. And if a paint is very viscous, there may be another drop after it stops. Like it'll kind of goop out of the nozzle a little bit extra. I decided that he works at the hunting lodge, Commander Salamander, because he knows there's a good chef on staff. I don't think he asks for burgers very often. He strikes me more as a steak au poivre kind of guy. Man, the rain. It doesn't want me to take Paw for a walk. Or it wants us both to get very wet when I take Paw for a walk, because she's a little devil lately. There we go. So we got that shadow. Ah, dearie me. I think I want a little bit of that color on the inside of this cuff too, because it's very bleached out right now. So I'm going to get it inside of there. A little bit more accentuation there. A bit more highlight here. There. All right, let's get this little part down here. Getting close. Oh, the rain let up a little bit. Fingers crossed. It can rain all day if it wants to. It just needs to let me get Papa a walk. I need a little bit more shadow there. Papa came to the gate and she's like, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet?" So we got that warmth there. Going warm with this shadow is kind of going against the way it would be in nature. Shadows are almost always cooler unless there's a lot of reflected light off of a warmer surface. Then they can be very warm. But I just decided I wanted this to be a really warm cream, so putting a fair amount of it around. There we go. A little bit of an edge down there, so we got those matching now. Let's see what we can do with this cuff in the time we have left. Yeah, Pendrake, but like last night it lied to me. There was a reversal or something weird where the wind got erratic and it said we weren't going to get rain until 4 a.m. and then we got rain. Like I was looking for my walk, for my evening walk. And then I got rain, like I just barely managed to get back without being poured on. So something must have slipped in the stratosphere. And that's the thing, right? Weather is unpredictable. Governed by chaos theory. They can make best guesses, but best guesses, although usually pretty accurate, are not the end all be all. Oh, I missed a gem. I missed gems all over here. I should block those in. Normally I just put on my raincoat and my waterproof shoes and I go for it. David got lucky this morning because it actually led up to be a very tiny sprinkle when he went to walk the paw. I need a little bit more strength here. I'm not doing the fur anymore, so I can actually add a little bit more brown liner to that mix. The nice thing about walking in the rain is that most other people are not walking their dogs in the rain. So I don't have Kiki like stretched out at the end of the leash, pulling my arm off, trying to play with them. There's especially one dog lately that I've just seen out a couple times, but it's a big, kind of looks like a Kuvaz or a Pyrenees mix. But that thing, if I've ever seen an aggressive dog, like, I don't ever want that thing off its leash. And it's big. And the guy who owns it is elderly. And I kind of am like, every time I see it, I'm just like, can we redirect our walk? Because it means business. Like, I've seen it try to greet a stranger before. And that was a growl that meant business. Like that, you just learn to kind of watch it. And you're like, yeah, that dog means it. And if you get closer, it's going to bite you. So I hate seeing that dog because it's really dog reactive. And it just will lunge, like, barking and try to get at you, and I'm on the other side of the street with Kiki. But my greatest fear is that that thing is going to slip off of its leash because the guy handling it can't handle it. Or he's going to drop the leash, and we're going to have a problem. Somebody is getting bitten. A lot of them are using the same kind of systems. If you listen to Nate Silver, who does the political analysis stuff, he's a really good statistics guy, and he's got his book Signal and the Noise has some really interesting stuff in it about patterns. And he talks about weather and predictability for a whole chapter. It's very fascinating. It's really fascinating. He went and did a lot of interviews with weather services, and the science behind trying to predict weather is pretty darn cool. But I mean, those services kind of put out a forecast, and then yeah, your average weather guy is just going to look at that. He's not really going to understand the whys behind it unless he decides he wants to. So yeah, the sciences and atmospheric sciences website sounds like you're pretty good there. You're getting like it right from the source, Big Chimpo there. Yeah, that's just. I'm always concerned when I see big dogs like that in the hands of people that are really getting pulled around. And Kiki pulls me around, but at least she's a super friendly dog. Yeah, science of weather is fascinating. I agree. It really is. Alrighty. So we've got a nice cuff there. They're baffled by meteorology. That's funny. I'm going to do a little bit of highlighting right here on top of the cuff since it's facing upwards, so we're going to make sure the highlight is here, less of a shadow. And there's a lot of shadow over here. There. Let's at least get some shading in on our feather up here. That's funny, Garnico. That's interesting, Turgeon. Yeah, weather science has come a ways in 30 years, I think. They do a lot of like looking at like cumulative years of what happens, you know, like when in this year, in these other years where these conditions were like roughly equivalent to this, what happened in this area, right? They'll do a lot of that. And they use that together with like atmospheric data to try to make predictions. I mean, I can't really complain because they did say, they've been saying for, you know, almost a week that today was going to be a rainy day. And lo and behold, it's a rainy day. So they were right today. They were just wrong about like the timing of the rain last night. But I think that's where it breaks down is moment to moment, right? Because they're looking at large generalities and the movement of big systems. And that doesn't always apply to your moment by moment experience. I shaded this color with a purple, so when I put this over the top, it's going to go brown, which is good. Yay, stretch. Yeah, hope you're doing well, Kodiak. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to try hard to get a lot of writing done today after I take Papa out, and I do need to get my last Patreon video up, but I did a lot of the editing yesterday, so it'll be not that bad, and I'll probably do it this evening. Maybe I'll get to it in the afternoon. And then it's a new month for Patreon. I think I'm going to do something for the color tier. I think I'm going to do cold reds this time, like highlighting when you have to highlight red with white instead of with orange or yellow, and how to make it work. Because it can be very difficult not to go pink, but there are tricks. So I'm just blending this in so we have a good starting place for next time. So we got a nice kind of yeah, I thought I'd take a break from the traditional like swatches and stuff that I do for the $5 tier and do some actual like usage stuff. Since I did the blues last time. There we go. So I think we're doing pretty good. Oh, I hear the rain again. No. No. Oh no, Papa. We're gonna get wet. I'm gonna have to take the short walk and put on my raincoat. So we've at least started on the feather. Feathers can be very difficult to do decently. Oh, Lady Kachara, I just finished her hair. Like the one I put up yesterday. Finally. It's taken like 5 or 6 videos to get all this hair done. But I think it looks great. Which fast palette, Inara? Yeah, we went very, very red, very unnatural red with this one. So she's an elf. Yeah, if you tell me which fast palette, I can try to make an effort to do a PDF on it in the future. I'm always looking for topics because I've been doing this for so long at this point that I feel like okay, has Vampire Pallor. Which one is that, Quindy? Help me. Help me, Quindy, help me. Is it the adventure colors? Or the dungeon colors? Is that dungeon colors? Help me, Quindy, help me. You're my last hope. My only hope. Quindy is my Obi-Wan Kenobi. She is my guiding Jedi. Bright green and a crimson purple and a dark metal. Yeah, I'm not. Interesting. Wood is a hard one because different kinds of wood, quote unquote. Then you've got to determine do you mean different colors of like finished wood? Because then it's just the same. You almost use the same colors as you do for hair. Yeah, I don't think it's like... I guess it's Vampiric Mist that's in the... Now I'm really curious about which fast palette. Dang it. We're going to hang out for a minute just to see if Quindy finds it, because Quindy is, like, brilliant. A bright green, a dark metal. Oh, Zombies quick paint, huh? Oh, okay. Dang it, Inara. Here I am trying to help. Well, if you can at least get the oh, is it Gloom and Grave? Okay. Yeah, because that's got the green, the Grave Gloom green and stuff. Okay. Well, we did do that Crimson Herald, but I don't have him anymore. He went to Ron. He lives with Ron now, which means he's buried somewhere on Ron's desk. Okay, Gloom Engrave. Yes, I love Gloom Engrave. I love, love, love Gloom Engrave. So maybe I should do a PDF on Gloom Engrave. Or I should do like 3 colors at a time. Let me, I'll need to dig out my Gloom Engrave. Let's see here. Gloom Engrave. I don't think it's a metallic. I think it's a liner. I think that's a Death Knight Black, isn't it? Gloom Engrave usage PDFs. Like what those colors are good for. Because I do love, I mean, that's actually a logical one for me to do in Aura, because I do love that fast palette more than anything else. Fantastic. I love Gloom Engrave. So that I would gladly reach for a, because that's where, guys, that's where our Nod Bone that I'm using, that's where that comes from. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is this is what we're using. Like, this is what we're using for our cream here. Like, that's the color. And it's like a great, like, it's a perfect replacement for, stained ivory. Any dark cream, warm cream. If you need to do an off-white, a warm off-white, this is your base coat. Like, I can do stuff on it though. There's so much you can do with this. So much. So yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like that Nod Bone is an integral color. I really wish that I could order it individually, because yeah. Although you can get close, honestly, if you have rich leather and you add some white or Assyrian sand to it, I think you can get real close. So yeah, all right, cool. That said, oh, yawning. That said, we'll resume tomorrow with, oh hey, yay! What day is it tomorrow, everybody? It's Yellow Day. It's Yellow Day. Maybe we can work on the armor. I need to work more on the cape. It needs more highlights. Yeah, but we need to do armor and cape, and then leather, I think. And I still haven't done the face. I've just like done the base coat and done the stuff. She's not mellow. She's got a mason. She's holding it like she wants to use it on somebody. But yeah, it's Yellow Day. I love Yellow Day. I'm gonna be so sad when this model goes away. I need a new yellow model. We need to do more yellow. I do love yellow. I look forward to this model every week because I love yellow. She's a very Tequila Sunrise set, maybe. Yeah, if you can use purple grays, grayish purples or grayish brown purples are great bases for that, because the vampire skin is really, really pale, as I recall. So if you're like me and you start darker and work lighter, I would say I'd use that. Alrighty. That one's a little red, but you could try it. Yeah, you could try it. It's a bit more red than I would normally say, but no, yeah, you could use that. Give it a try and see. If it's a little too warm, you can always glaze with your pale, or add in something a little bit more muted. Yeah. All right. That said, we'll see you tomorrow for Yellow Day. Thank you, everybody. It sounds like the rain is temporarily stopped here, so I will step out with Kiki on a leash and immediately get deluged. I hope you all have a lovely, lovely Tuesday and the last day of February to boot. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.